Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. My name is Sebastian. I'm here speaking on behalf of the Committee on Appropriations, and I just want to send my thanks to everyone who is joining and participating with us today, as well as the different speakers who will take the floor in a little bit down the road. So just to kind of give everyone here an idea of what's going to be going on, I'm going to do a mild introduction and passing the floor on to my colleague, Daisy Gray. We'll also handle that portion of this meeting. Afterwards, we're going to have a Q&A session. If you would like to have any questions do come up throughout this meeting, you could use the raise my hand feature, or you can type your questions in the chat, and we will make sure those get addressed throughout this meeting today. Another thing that I also want to let you know is that at the top of the alt chat, we posted a link that will have further information on fiscal year 22's appropriation request process regarding community project funding and details for those subcommittees accepting the CPF request. So you could click there for that information. You could ask us any questions throughout this entire process, and we'll get to those at the end. And right now, I have the pleasure of passing it on to my colleague, Mr. Jason Gray, to kick us off.
Sebastian, thank you all for joining us here this afternoon. This is our last session for Friday. We're going to be covering financial services, military construction, CJS, and agriculture here. And we're also going to be running through these sessions again Monday, same times. So if you have other staff that would be interested in these, please make them aware. One thing I want to flag up front is today we've released a Dear Colleague extending the database deadlines by 2 weeks for all subcommittees. This is partly a reflection of the delay in the skinny budget, but also we really want to make sure that we're working with you all to get some good projects up front. So so a little bit of additional time, we think will be to everyone's benefit. So that's updated on our website now. The Dear Colleague has been circulated, and so for any subcommittees that were April 14th, that's now the 28th. April 15th, the 29th, and April 16th is now the 30th. So just wanted to highlight that up front. We're also excited that we have a broader audience joining us here today. So thank you all for joining. And we'll turn it over to Matt Smith, who's our FSGG clerk, to run through small business. They have one account here, and he'll give you a high-level overview of the criteria for projects they're in. Matt?
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody. Excuse me. For FSGG, we are accepting requests for community project funding in the Small Business Administration account under a program we've created calling these Small Business Initiatives. Some examples of the activities we are looking to fund would be entrepreneurial training, workforce development, counseling, research, purchase of equipment, and construction or acquisition of facilities. This list is by no means exhaustive. What we're really looking for are good projects that have strong community support with a direct connection to helping small business. An important part in looking at projects would be identifying things we can do with one round of funding. We can't predict what will happen in future years, and it's not beneficial for us or you to fund a really good project and have it suddenly end when the operating funds run out. When I think of these types of projects, I think of things that nonprofits would look at and say, look, this would be great if we could just get it going. We can afford to carry it forward. We can't get the project going because we don't have those upfront funds. For the matching requirement, we don't have a matching requirement. That being said, having other entities willing to contribute to the project is a good way to demonstrate strong community support. Some of you asked before about the size of the projects. Last year we funded SBA projects. The average project was about $370,000, with a lot of projects falling in the $100,000 to $200,000 range. We don't have a specific dollar amount in mind, and so some of this will be informed by the kind of request we Just lastly, the staff contacts are myself, Matthew Smith, at mail@house.gov, and Laura Silke. Silke is spelled Cylke at mail@house.gov.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
We'll turn it over to military construction. We have Sarah Young, who is an expert on all these accounts here. So, Sarah, if you could run us through kind of the guidance, the criteria, and what folks should be thinking about for requesting projects in Milcon.
Thanks, Jason. Again, as Jason said, my name is Sarah Young, and I handle the Milcon portfolio along with my coworker, Brad Allen. For this year, the subcommittee has determined that military construction accounts are the only accounts that are eligible for the CPF project requests. This includes all active duty and reserve component military construction, unspecified minor construction, and planning and design. We are one of those accounts where it's program-based or project-based, and so more of this will be focused on once we receive the full committee or the full budget in May. As for deadlines for April, we request that report language and programmatic increases be included in those requests. The guidance for Milcon follows the last time we did earmarks for the fiscal year 2010. The bulk of the member requests were within the Milcon accounts. The projects must be executable in fiscal year 2022. They must be on an approved list from the Secretary of Defense or the services. Those lists include the Future Years Defense Program, unfunded requirements, or cost to completes. And projects also must be at 35% design. In previous year, we did this in fiscal year 2010. Our range in dollar amount was about $400,000 to $14 million per project, with a couple of outliers, either lower or higher. A few examples of projects that we've received in the past are Army Reserve and Guard readiness centers, access control points, air traffic control towers, weapons maintenance hangars, that type of those projects. Feel free to reach out to myself, which is Sarah with an H.Young at the usual mail address, and then Brad Allen, ALLEN. It's the same thing. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Sarah. Turning over to CJS, Bob Bonner is our clerk for the subcommittee, and he'll walk us through the accounts that are eligible there and the guidance.
Okay, thanks, Jason. So the CJS subcommittee has 4 categories of potential community project funding: Burn Justice Assistance Grants, or Burn JAG, COPS Technology and Equipment, NOAA Operations, and NASA Safety, Security, and Mission Services. Burn JAG is a flexible source of funding aimed at assisting state, local, and tribal efforts to prevent or reduce crime. Any community project under this account will need to be for specific uses allowable under Burn JAG program guidelines. Cathedral City, California, for an anti-gang task force project. $45,000 for the city of Lakewood, Colorado, for substance abuse treatment for youth offenders. And $400,000 for the city of San Jose, California, for a Skills to Succeed prisoner reentry pilot project. We'll also have a separate category for community project funding for COPS Technology and Equipment, specifically for grants for state, local, and tribal law enforcement to develop and acquire effective technologies and interoperable communications that assist both in investigating, responding to, and preventing crime, and in helping improve the flow of information among law enforcement agencies, local government service providers, and communities. Some prior examples of COPS Tech projects were $300,000 for the city of Modesto, California, for law enforcement communications equipment, $150,000 for a Haverhill, Massachusetts police radio project, and $100,000 for a Jefferson County, Georgia emergency dispatch system upgrade and enhancement project. We will have community project funding as well for certain projects within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. These include research, demonstration, or education projects performed by external partners of NOAA, or for prioritizing NOAA's internal funds for geographically specific projects, though not for construction or major renovation projects. Any project must be aligned with NOAA's mission and within the agency's existing authorities. Some prior examples of community projects funded under this NOAA account are $300,000 for the state of Alaska for seal and stellar sea lion biological research, $250,000 for the University of New Orleans for Pontchartrain Basin restoration, and $600,000 for Mobile County, Alabama for coastal tidal gauges. And please note, there are 3 areas within NOAA in which we will not be doing community projects, but these are well tailored for national programmatic requests. Those are the National Weather Service, the Office of Marine and Aviation Operations, and the Coastal Zone Management Program. Finally, we will have an opportunity to fund certain community projects through NASA for activities that are consistent with and supportive of the work of NASA's mission directorates, such as STEM education activities and scientific research, though we will not be funding building construction or renovation projects with community project funding in this account. Some examples of NASA community projects previously funded are $250,000 for Lehigh University for nanomaterials research, $350,000 for the University of Alabama for miniature antennas for unmanned aerial vehicles, and $100,000 for the Thurgood Marshall College Fund for a minority science initiative. I am reachable by email at robert.bonner, B-O-N-N-E-R. For the 2 justice accounts that I mentioned, I would also encourage you to reach out to Faye Cobb on our staff. She's reachable at Faye, F-A-Y-E.Cobb, C-O-B-B. For NOAA, the contact is TJ Loudermilk, and that's TJ.LOWDERMILK. For NASA, the contact is Jamie Wise, which is James.Wise, W-I-S-E. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Bob. And now we have our Ag Subcommittee, Martha Foley, last but certainly never least. So Martha's got a few accounts available, so she can run us through that criteria. That'd be great. Martha, you mute.
All right. I was going to say we're used to going first because agriculture is first alphabetically, but anyway. Thank you, everybody. This is really tracking, and I suspect for my colleagues as well, tracking the Dear Colleague, and I would really refer you back to that, but I'll try to summarize. We have 3 accounts this year for community project funding. First one is community facility grants, which is a very underfunded and very valuable account. I would say among the most flexible and valuable for rural communities. And in USDA in general, the poorer and smaller the community is, the more likely it is to get a grant, get a loan, and get favorable conditions as far as a cost match. So it's heavily weighted towards smaller, poorer, and they must be rural communities. It's very broad. It can include healthcare facilities, public safety work, educational facilities, public works vehicles, distance learning equipment. It's kind of almost the sky's the limit. Fire rescue stations, town halls, healthcare clinics, it just goes on and on. Financing can cover construction, the cost of land acquisition, professional fees, like architects, I assume, and purchase of equipment. So it's never been an earmark, choose the expression, account before, but the competitive program in 2020 gave grants of about an average of $50,000. I don't know what we're going to be working with, so I just can't tell you. I don't have a past earmark history on this. The area must survey rural areas defined in law. We're not going to waive it where your district has an important project, but it's just outside a designated rural area. We will not waive that, so you have to meet the standard. The second one is the USDA Reconnect program, which is broadband basically deployment. This is a new program. I think we started in 2018, so it's never been an earmark. The average grants by USDA in the competitive program are about 5.5 million. Again, I can't say that that's at all what we're going to be able to do with our funding. It is for the construction, improvement, or acquisition of facilities and equipment needed to provide broadband service in rural areas. They have to be rural, and they have to lack sufficient access to broadband service, which is a very technically defined measurement, and I won't even attempt to repeat it. It has to do with megabits per second or something. But anyway, so we will. This is an account where we are very likely to send, not with your name, but the proposal to the department to get technical evaluation, because we can't afford to spend money on something that turns out to be not rural or have sufficient access or whatever. So be aware of that. I think getting us the most detail up front that you can is advisable. And in terms of making a pitch for it, the number of households or businesses or farms to be served, what you expect the ultimate performance of the broadband service to be, and I assume brownie points for healthcare and educational facilities. I'm not sure, but I think those are obviously going to have broad, demonstrable community support. So I would keep that in mind. The third one is the Agricultural Research Service Buildings and Facilities account. And because we've gotten questions before, I want to emphasize this is not for research. This is for buildings or facilities. It's not for doing a research project or having a new staff added to a current ARS research facility. There is a demonstrable, very serious backlog in maintenance of repair of ARS facilities, which are all labs and facilities across the country. So we think this is a good government thing to do. Plus, I'm sure members would be interested as well. Requests must be for either ARS-owned facilities or facilities that will enhance ongoing ARS work. So in that category are cases where there's a large cadre of ARS researchers, maybe co-located in a university building that needs to be updated, repaired, renovated, whatever. So, but if you have no ARS people or no ARS presence, it's not going to fly. So, and also if you can give a sense of why this is important research, why they need a new facility, but again, tying it back to the research. So I think that is it for me. Sorry, Jason, I know you just went off screen, but
that's great. Thanks, Martha. So we ran through all those pretty efficiently, giving us a good amount of time here for the question and answer period. So Sebastian, if I can turn it back to you, and maybe we'll just open it up for questions right now.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Jason, and thank you for all the speakers. We appreciate your insight and your help on all of this. So again, just to reiterate for all of the participants in the group, the way that you could ask for questions, either put it on the chat, or you can essentially use the raise your hand function within the Zoom calls. So starting off, we have a question from Michael Dunn. Hold on. Okay, yes. So Michael asked, I know at various briefings, different subcommittees have floated various funding ranges for accounts. Is there any thought of putting together a consolidated document with that information? I know committee has suggested looking at the 2010 report, but that's frankly unwieldy to send to constituents. I've had a hard time figuring out what a realistic range is since each account has outliers.
Thanks. I can address that. I think what we're doing is just providing examples that are emblematic of prior years. And, if we were to put something out on paper, we wouldn't want it to look like these are the amounts that we're endorsing. These are just amounts for you all as you look at projects. So, if you want to follow up with the different subcommittees, but we're trying to just provide this information up front so that you can get a sense of size and scope, and certainly the projects that you're looking at back home may or may not fit into that. So once you've identified something that might be viable, reach back out to our subcommittees and ask the question. We can work with you one-on-one on that.
Thank you, Jason. The next question is from Kelsey Mishkin. She said, "Hi, Sarah. What about VA medical facilities construction projects?"
Unfortunately, we are not earmarking VA at all this year. It's just straight up military construction, no VA construction.
Thank you very much. The next question is from Drew Cannon. Ag Community and Facilities Program, what would average grant be or amount range?
Sorry, hang on. Well, again, it's never been earmarked before. So, as I said, the current average grant in the competitive program by USDA is $50,000. So that's all I have. Sorry.
Thank you. This is a question from Jacqueline Hamilton. So she said, please spell out acronyms for those of us new to approach. Do you have, any acronym that you were unsure of or that you would like us to clarify?
It was the Burn Jag, and TJ Loudermilk clarified that in a private chat. It's the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grants. I have a question related to that, though. Can those grantees be nonprofits, or do they have to be government entities?
They could be nonprofits. We will be considering them on a case-by-case basis. We have, under previous community project funding for this account, provided some of the Burn Jag community project funding for nonprofits. We would be evaluating them on a case-by-case basis, but I would say as long as the purposes, the goals, and the uses of the funds are consistent with the overall Burn Jag program and the way Burn Jag programs are currently spent, then I think it would be a good candidate for a community project.
Thank you. There is another question from Kelsey Mishkin. Specific example here, but have a food bank upgrade proposal, but not in a rural area. Martha, would that fit in community facilities grant or somewhere under ARS or neither?
Neither. It has to be in a rural area, and it doesn't have any connection to research, unfortunately. But you're free to follow up with us, but I don't think so.
Yeah, to answer that question, I think that's going to fall more to THUD, Economic Development, the EDI account. So if you want to think about it there and also reach out to Christina Monroe, that might be a bucket where it might have some legs.
Thank you, everyone. Again, with the audience, if you have any questions or anything else, Andrea Martin just asked a question related to Kelsey's question. What about urban food bank?
Same. Right, Martha?
Yeah. Must be rural, sorry.
Martha, where did you say we look for that?
I didn't. What's your question again?
Urban food banks. I'm piggybacking on Kelsey's excellent question.
That's Jason's answer.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, so it's not going to fall in the rural area, so it's not going to be in Martha's wheelhouse, but there's probably some potential there for under THUD in the Economic Development Initiative account. So Christina Monroe and their subcommittee may be able to work with you on that. They can take a look.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have another question from Megan. Megan Best. On the ARS website, how can I find out if there's any ARS project based in my boss's district or impacting the district.
So I will refer to, or actually see if Perry Yates can speak or add a link in the chat. Perry, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Megan, it might be best to walk through that one individually, but an ARS project is more likely on the salaries and expenses account through the research activities that ARS does, not through the buildings and facilities program, which we are qualifying for community projects. So it might be best to just send me an email and I can walk you through the details.
We also could link to a map, I think, of where they're located around the country, so if that would help people.
Thank you, everyone. Do we have any other questions? Again, put it in the chat or use the raise your hand feature. We are here and happy to help. Oh, okay. Seeing that there are no further questions. Oh, okay. Yes. Seeing that there are no. Nick Simonko, raise your hand, please. The floor is yours.
Sorry to jump in there at the end. So just as a broad thing, I was planning on culling the list of community outreach that we do and solicitations that we get from the community to like a list of 20 or something. I don't know what, and then take that short list to the committee for guidance. Does that sound like a process that would work? Times 435 or whatever.
I'm just left. It's Martha. I'm just at 430, so I'll let Jason answer that. Or
Yeah,
Matt Washington.
I'm sorry, I was a little distracted there.
It's okay. So my plan for how my office is going to approach this, and we're still developing that plan, but is to, after all the outreach and solicitations that we get, at a certain point in the timeline, to go over whatever we received, call it down to a list of, the arbitrary number, say 20, something over 10, and then taking those to the committee, the subcommittees, and sort of get their feedback on those. Is that too unwieldy a process for the committee to do if other offices are doing the same thing, or what's the kind of bandwidth?
Yeah, I mean, we want to see these up front so that we can help you, because we don't want a bad project getting posted on your website early on. But I appreciate your recognition that that'll be a lot of workload, upfront work that are for our committee staff. But we're happy to kind of. I think once you get it down to your top 20, if you're looking at 1 or 2 per subcommittee, we can take a look at those.
Thank you.
We have a question from Robert McKenzie. If the CEO of a company that is building a Milcon project served on a member's finance committee, does that have to be disclosed to the committee? And yes.
I don't understand the portion of it, the question about a CEO building a Milcon project. Can we get an explanation of what he means by CEO building a Milcon project?
Robert, can you, if you wouldn't mind just jumping in to help talk through that?
You mentioned a contractor company?
Are you muted?
I mean, I think it has to be disclosed, but I mean, especially if it sits on the person's, if it sits on your boss's steering committee, I would say it has to be disclosed.
Actually, Matt Washington here. I'm looking at what you said in the chat. I think that's one of the things that Jason has probably already said. You have to be aware of what what you're requesting, because there's no financial interest of the immediate family for the rules of the house, but the optics of that look kind of bad. Because I think what you're saying is, if you have somebody who's building a MilCon project and his company contributes to your boss's campaign, is that a conflict of interest? I think the optics are bad, but the rules of the house would be suffice, because there's no immediate family interest.
Yeah, we'd direct you over to ethics, and you might want to talk with them further.
Robert, just follow up with any clarification that you might need on that, aside from the things that were mentioned here. Megan asked a question. She said, following up on that, who should that larger list be sent to? Email address?
This was referring to the earlier question, not the one we just asked.
Yes, I apologize.
I think someone had asked if their office were to send something like 20, questions. My question was just, is there a central place where we would be sending that to, or what would you guys prefer?
Well, I don't think you could do it to a central place, because it'd be 10 different subcommittees. So you would have to break off the request and send it to the appropriate subcommittee.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you can be, selective. I mean, in what you're sending, maybe not all 20, but if there's a few that really you have questions about, our staff, they're going to be as responsive as they can. But again, to the earlier question, that would be a large upfront workload. Again, we want to make sure we've got good projects, and we want to give you good feedback, but just try to balance that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Anything else come to mind, or anything that you guys would like further clarification or help with?
Can I ask a question that may be impolitic? The question is, it seems because the limit, if you're getting an echo.
Yeah, you're going in and, at least for me, you're going in and out, Jacqueline.
Okay. I'm going to speak slowly. The question is, we have a public facing and an internal facing process. I think I'm not going to be able to ask this question. Thanks. I'll type it.
Yeah, I was going to say, just put it in the chat and we'll look at it. In the meantime, while she's typing that, does anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, thoughts on?
Can I follow up specifically with one person about sort of the overall concept of this? It's just an overall how we handle requests from the question.
Ask away.
But the sound is betraying me.
Yeah, just do me a favor. Email.
Jacqueline, are you going again?
No problem.
And what exactly?
She's asking, what does CIS stand for in CJ?
I'm sorry, CIS?
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that acronym.
I thought maybe she meant CJS, so I just did a private reply.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Sorry.
Lisa, are you good to go? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Excellent. Next thing is, Evans is asking for Jason's email address.
Yeah, it's jason.gray@mail.house.gov, GRAY.
Thank you, Jason. Any other questions or anything else that anyone wants to bring to the floor or possibly needs help with? I'd like to also extend the thanks that is also being sent from Ms. Andrea Martin. She's just thinking of you and very helpful. As well as I want to, again, if there are no other questions, I extend my thanks to both all the participants and the speakers for helping us get this together. Jay Miller is also saying thank you from Judge/Team Carter, and that all of the meetings that we've had today have been very helpful. So again, thank you everyone for coming together, and I will pass it off to Jason.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thank you all for your time. Follow up. The other thing I didn't mention up front is we released a Dear Colleague today. We've had a lot of questions about member sign-on letters, and we've updated our guidance to clarify this. So please look at that. But very clearly, we're making the distinction: a request from your boss is one that's submitted in the database. So we never intended to limit, what your boss's expressions of support were for various projects. If they want to sign on to letters, they can do so. We advise that you include certifications of no financial interest anytime you're signing on to things like that, just to make sure that everything is fully above board. But for the committee, our request is one of your 10. And so in order for that project to receive consideration, that project is going to need to be submitted by a member to the database. So we hope to clarify that. We heard that loud and clear from folks, and hope that helps. So we'll be back again on Monday, at 10 a.m. running through the subcommittee trainings, and hope you have a good weekend.